Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It was almost too quiet in the Abbott living room, the kind of quiet that precedes an emotional storm. As Allie stood close to the doorway, her shaking fingers gripping the handle of her bag, the family portraits on the mantel appeared to watch in disapproval. She was having trouble breathing since her heart was beating so rapidly. This was not your typical farewell. The Abbott family would be torn apart by this farewell. At first, Jack sat still, a look of bewilderment on his face. He had already noticed the eerie, aloof expression in Allie's eyes, but he had no idea what would come next. Her voice broke as she finally spoke, each syllable cutting through the atmosphere like a piece of glass. The words, "I'm leaving Grandpa, and I'm not coming back," hung there like the walls themselves were gasping. Jack's heart pounded with denial as he blinked in shock. "Allie, what are you talking about, my love? You've just arrived. We've at last begun to feel like a family once more." His voice wavered with dread and affection. However, Allie's eyes were unwavering. Glimmering with tears she was determined not to shed. "It's not that easy," she muttered. "I am unable to be here any longer. Too many falsehoods." Jack got up from the couch, his every step tinged with desperation. "Too much guilt." "Allie, what lies? What kind of guilt? We can work together to fix whatever it is. You don't simply leave your family behind." Allie's jaw tightened though. She had prepared for this moment and assured herself that she would be resilient. But now that she was staring at the guy who had given her love and a sense of belonging, she felt herself crumbling. She said, "It's not about you. It's about Noah and me." Jack froze the moment she said that name. His visage changed in a way that was almost animalistic. "Noah?" His voice was sharp and low as he repeated, "How about Noah?" Noah moved into the light across the room, his posture tense but defiant. He said, "Jack, let's just talk this out." But Jack's eyes were already flaming. The late-night conversations, the glances, and the abrupt shifts in Allie's attitude all started to fit together in Jack's head. "You," Jack mumbled, gesturing to Noah with a trembling finger. "What did you do?" With a look of guilt on his face, Noah swallowed hard. "Jack, it's not like that. I swear." But before he could say anything more, Allie's voice broke through the tension like thunder. "Grandpa, we're in love. I'm going with him because I love him." Quiet. Electric quiet, pure. Then Jack's world fell apart in an instant. The blood drained from his face, and his hands balled into fists. "You what?" He let out a shout that reverberated like a cannon explosion throughout the Abbott estate. The remarks, full with incredulity and rage, ripped through the atmosphere. "Tell me you didn't just say that." Allie, however, she refused to give up. She nodded, tears sparkling in her eyes. "It's accurate." Jack snapped as soon as he said, "I love him." Decades of repressed anger and heartache bubbled to the surface, causing his entire body to stiffen. His voice broke, but his rage did not. "After everything this family has been through, after everything I have done for you," he said, "you betray me in this way? By falling in love with him, you betray this family." In an attempt to protect her, Noah moved forward. "She's not betraying you, Jack. This was not planned by us. Simply happened, but that made it worse." "Did it just happen?" Jack growled. "Do you believe that makes it acceptable? Do you really believe you can walk into my house, into my family, and steal my granddaughter as if she were a prize?" Allie attempted to intervene, but Jack had already moved too far away. Every ounce of self-control he had ever known vanished, leaving his fists shaking and his chest heaving. "You took advantage of her." His voice broke with agony as he yelled. "You lied to me and exploited her." "Jack, please, I love her," Noah begged, raising his hands in defense. "I never intended to cause you harm." However, that was all. The explosion was caused by the last spark. In a single powerful motion, Jack's anger exploded. With a terrible snap, his fist struck Noah's jaw as he pushed forward. Like thunder, the boom reverberated throughout the home. A lamp broke across the floor as Noah staggered back and crashed into the side table. "Jack!" With a cry, Allie ran to Noah's side. Jack wasn't done though. In that one cruel moment, years of grief, the loss of chemo, the anguish of betrayed trust, and the never-ending cycle of betrayal, spilled out of him. You believe you can waltz in here and ruin my family's remnants? Jack yelled, his voice quivering with unadulterated passion. Noah, I trusted you. I was like a son to you. As he wiped the blood from his lip, Noah looked at Jack in shock and grief. Do you believe that I desired this? He responded with a yell. Do you believe that I intended to harm anyone? Jack, I fell in love with her. Who you love is beyond your control. She's my granddaughter, Jack said, his voice breaking as his eyes flashed with rage. Like an unhealing wound, the words tore from his throat. Desperate and powerless, Allie's cries filled the room. Please stop. Stop, you too. Her voice trembled as she sobbed. However, the harm had already been done. Jack's eyes were glazed with a mixture of sadness and rage. His hands were firmly clenched, and his breathing was labored. You were meant to keep her safe, he growled at Noah, his voice quivering with controlled aggression. Noah moved forward and said, Not take her away from me. His tone was firm yet kind. Jack, she's not a kid. She decides for herself. Shaking but unwavering, Allie took Noah's hand and said, You can hate me all you want, but she deserves to live her life. We're heading out, she muttered. Now. Jack's whole body froze. His face was hollow and pale as he gazed at her. You're picking him over me? His voice was almost heard as he inquired. Allie hesitated, the weight of his words shattering her heart. She whispered, I'm not picking one over the other. I'm picking myself. But Jack saw it as a betrayal. The same kind of deception that had plagued his family for many generations. The recollection of past traumas, including Chemo's rage, Diane's deceit, and all the times he had battled to keep his family together, came flooding back in a torrent of agony. With a cracked voice, Jack muttered, You're just like the rest. Every time I believe I can trust someone, they disappear. They tell lies. They demolish everything I've constructed. Now Allie was crying uncontrollably. I apologize, she muttered. Jack looked away, unwilling to look at her, saying, I never meant to hurt you. No, he replied icily. You already did. Noah attempted to lead Allie out the door, but Jack turned around once more, his voice trembling with rage and agony. Don't you dare return if you leave that door, Allie. The final harsh ultimatum cut through the room. Allie came to a halt, her shoulders shaking. She begged, Grandpa, please don't do this. I adore you. I always will. But Jack's expression was expressionless. Then demonstrate it, he said. Remain. The ensuing hush was intolerable. Torn between love and loyalty, Allie glanced from Jack to Noah. We should go, Noah muttered in a raspy voice. She then decided what to do. She went to the door after picking up her suitcase. The sound of the lock clicking made Jack's heart break once more. You have no right to abandon me in this manner. His voice broke with sadness as he yelled. However, she didn't look back. Her sobbing were muffled by the darkness as she ventured out into the chilly night. Jack was left alone with his suffering as the door shut behind her. He turned to face Noah, who was standing in the doorway looking heartbroken. You believe you've won? Jack's voice trembled as he hissed. Do you believe that love makes this right? Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. Jack, nobody wins. We all lose today, he said, leaving Jack surrounded by shattered trust and broken glass. The silence was overwhelming and the home felt more empty than before. Jack fell to his knees and gazed at Allie's former location. His breath came raggedly, his hands trembled, and the anger that had once overwhelmed him turned to hopelessness. Why does this keep happening to me? He exclaimed, punching the floor with a broken voice. In a single terrible wave, memories of Chemo, lost love, and every betrayal he had experienced came flooding back. With tears streaming down his face, he muttered, I tried. I tried to be better, to be a good man, he said, but it looked as though his own errors were responding. Every hurt he had ever buried had been ripped open by Allie's farewell. The once bright Abbott living room was dark hours later. The smell of rage lingered in the air as the broken lamp lay in fragments. With a glass of unused whiskey by his side, Jack sat by himself and gazed into the void. Her words, her eyes, and the way Noah had gazed at her with the same intensity he'd previously felt for a long-lost love were all repeated in his mind. You what? He whispered under his breath once more, as though repeating it would somehow make everything right. However, it wouldn't. The harm was irreversible. In the quiet, Jack came to the realization that Allie and Noah's love wasn't what had really shattered him. It was the loss of control and a reminder that love defies expectations, bloodlines, and norms. That he was powerless to prevent history from repeating itself in spite of everything he had done to keep his family together. I lost her. Just like I lost them all, Jack sobbed as dawn began to creep over the Abbott estate. However, remorse remained a lingering emotion underlying the rage and grief. Because Jack had not only hit Noah when his fists flew and his anger erupted, but he had also shattered the tenuous connection that had previously united them as family. And now there was nothing but stillness and a guy who had finally come to the realization that once love is shattered, it can never be fully restored. The gentle hum of the air conditioner did nothing to calm the chaos erupting in Jack's chest as he sat alone in the darkened living room. His breathing labored. The spot where his knuckles had struck Noah's jaw was throbbing, a harsh, pulsating reminder of the instant he lost all control. The glass of whiskey on the table in front of him was still unopened, its amber liquid catching flecks of light from the broken bulb on the ground. The quiet felt oppressive. The word he was unable to avoid appeared to be echoed by every creak in the old Abbott mansion. Why? He kept going over the event in his head, each recollection piercing more deeply than the last. Allie's shaky voice. Her eyes were defiant. Noah's request for comprehension. The way his own voice, alien and hideous, had erupted in fury as he yelled, "You what?" The sight of astonishment, fear, and despair on Allie's face as soon as he struck Noah cut him more deeply than any wound he had ever experienced. That look tormented him now. He could still see the fear in her eyes when she realized her grandfather wasn't the man she believed him to be, and he could still hear her crying as she hurried to Noah's side. Jack tried to block out the pictures by closing his eyes and putting his palms against them. However, they refused to leave. They arrived like waves, inexorable and unrelenting. An unidentified beast had been let loose, and he could still feel the rage running through him. Although it wasn't the first time he had lost a loved one to pride or rage, it felt the most tragic. Jack whispered angrily to himself, "I'm just like him." The words tasted like ash. Just like my father. Even though John Abbott had been a decent man, young Jack was afraid of his angry and frustrated moments. Jack was that man now. He was older, more alone, and consumed by the same unquenchable fire. Recollections of Allie's entrance filled his head as he got up and started to pace, running a hand through his hair. How thrilled he had been to locate her, and have a bit of chemo back in his life at last. She had filled the void created by years of remorse and alienation, something he believed would never heal. She had brought warmth, light, and laughter back into the house. And now that light had left with Noah Newman in a single night. How was she able to? He muttered incoherently. How could she abandon me like that? He strolled over to the mantel and took up a framed picture of Allie standing next to him at the Abbott family picnic, grinning. The same soft tenderness that chemo previously possessed glistened in her eyes. He ran a shaky finger across the glass. His voice broke as he whispered, "I was supposed to protect you, not force you to leave." He was shocked out of his reverie by a knock. His heart thumping, he turned to face the door. He briefly hoped it was Allie, that perhaps she would return, that perhaps she had come to the realization that she couldn't abandon things like this. However, it wasn't her when he opened the door. Billy was the one. With a somber expression, his younger sibling stood there. "Jack," he muttered. "I heard what transpired." Jack tensed his shoulders. "You did, of course. In this family, news spreads quickly." As Billy entered, he looked around at the chaos, including the broken lamp, the overturned table, and the slight bloodstains on the floor. "You struck him?" Billy cautiously inquired. Jack clenched his jaw. He stated bluntly, "He deserved it." "Did he?" Billy retorted. "Or did he simply say something that you didn't want to hear?" Jack's eyes flashed as he turned on him. "Billy, don't begin with me. You don't comprehend," Billy said. "Oh, I understand plenty. I've been in your position. Furious. Hurt. Feeling deceived. But striking the man? Nothing is fixed by it. You become the antagonist in her tale as a result." Jack's rage wavered as his face slumped. "Billy, she's my grandchild. My relatives. He stole her away from me." Billy let out a sigh. Jack, she is no longer a child. She is not yours. You brought her up to be resilient, self-reliant, and capable of making her own decisions. She's doing it now, and since it's not what you wanted, you can't handle it. Jack averted his gaze as shame constricted his chest. She is acting incorrectly. A Newman is Noah. You are aware of what that implies. Take a look at our family's past, the deceit, the lies, the mayhem. I can't allow her to relapse into that pattern. Billy gave a slow shake of his head. Jack, you can't stop love. And attempting to manage it? That's what ruins families, he said, looking at the door. Noah wasn't the only reason you lost her. As you didn't trust her, you lost her. The remarks were like a slap to Jack. He collapsed into the couch and looked straight ahead. He said, she said she loved him. And I hit him, he said in a raspy, exhausted voice. What have I done, God? Billy's face relaxed. He put a hand on his brother's shoulder as he sat next to him. You erred. Everybody does. However, you can make it right. She's too hurt, so not tonight. However, you approach her when she's prepared to listen. You're sorry. As a man who is sorry for the suffering he caused, rather than as a grandfather attempting to dictate her life. Jack's throat tightened as he slowly nodded. He said, I just wanted to protect her. Billy whispered softly, I know. However, love occasionally necessitates allowing others to make their own errors. Remember how you taught me that once? They were silent for a considerable amount of time. The old clock on the wall, which marked each painful second that Allie was gone, was the only sound. Billy stood up at last. I'll see how Noah is doing. Verify his well-being. Jack winced. He paused, finding it difficult to say, Tell him he interrupted himself. Just make sure he's all right. Billy gave a nod. You will have the opportunity to express yourself. But not if you continue to let pride dictate how you behave. Jack sat in quiet once more after Billy had departed, his mind a whirlwind of guilt and desire. The echoes of his own errors haunted the house, not ghosts. Allie's laughing in the kitchen, her voice calling for him from the stairs, and the way she would sit on the couch and share her dreams were memories that pervaded every room. All of that was gone now. Jack strolled upstairs and paused outside Allie's bedroom as the night continued into the early morning. The door was open a little. His heart ached at what he saw as he pushed it open. The covers had not been touched, and her bed was well made. There was nothing on the desk where she used to study. A framed picture of her, Jack, and Noah at the Abbott pool last summer was the only item she had left behind. With his reflection warped in the glass, he took it up. He said, she truly loved him. He sat on her bed and gazed at the void where her warmth and laughter had resided. I let you down, he said. I allowed my fear to overcome my love. His phone rang downstairs. It was a text from Billy. Billy, Noah's doing well. He has a bruised jaw, but he won't file a complaint. He's with Allie. She is secure. Jack exhaled deeply and tremblingly, feeling an odd mixture of relief and grief. Safe, he muttered. That's all that counts. Slowly, the following day arrived, bringing with it brightness that seemed overly bright and obtrusive. Everything felt different, even if the Abbott estate had the same appearance. Sensing the stress, the workers moved in silence. Jack sat in his study and gazed at the framed picture of Allie on his desk for the entire morning. He had told himself 100 times that the foundation of being an Abbott is forgiveness and compassion, and that family comes first. But those words seemed empty now. There was another knock on the door by noon. It was Sharon this time. Her countenance was stiff and she appeared uncomfortable. Jack, may we have a conversation? She whispered. With a subtle nod, Jack gestured for her to enter. She sat across from him and said, I just spoke to Noah. He explained what transpired to me. Jack let out a deep breath and spoke softly. I'm positive he did. Sharon's hands were folded. Jack, he's hurt. Yes, both physically and emotionally. He admired you. To him, you resembled a father figure. Something in him was broken by what transpired last night. Jack closed his eyes and massaged his temples. I am aware, he muttered. I am aware that I went too far. Sharon's tone became softer. You're not the only person in pain. Allie is heartbroken. She believes you despise her. Jack jerked his head up. I could never despise her. Sharon softly remarked. I know that, but she doesn't. She believes that her love for Noah will never be forgiven. Jack's voice broke. All I wanted was for her to see what she was entering. I've witnessed the results of mixing Abbott's with Newman's. There is always grief at the end. Sharon said quietly. Maybe, but maybe not this time. They might be the ones to disprove everyone. Jack, you have to give them a chance. If not, you will permanently lose her. Long after she was gone, her words continued to reverberate. Jack sat by himself and gazed at the vacant area where Allie had been. He reflected on his own life, the moments he had rejected love, and the moments he had allowed pride to control his decisions. And he became acutely aware of the fact that he had been repeatedly going through the same cycle. Defend. Command. Lose. Jack eventually made up his mind as the sun began to set. He grabbed his phone and dialed Billy. Are you aware of their location? Silently, he inquired. Yes, Billy replied. Noah is lodging at Sharon's house. Allie is also present. Jack paused. I must see her. I have to make this right. Billy's tone became softer. Then Big Brother, do it. But don't go there as her warden. Go there as her grandfather.